what we're going to do is everybody go to the home page. So we're all starting from this main spot, the same spot. We are going to click on this little button right here under the settings. Okay, in the top right-hand corner, right up here, we're going to be clicking on this one, Edit Corp-Wide Settings and Defaults. Is everybody on that page? Okay, perfect. What I would like you guys to do is I'd like you guys to kind of scroll down this page and just take a gander. I'm going to lightly scroll down, but there are tons of stuff. Locations, what do you want to call your corporation? Some people don't like the word corporation. They're like, I'm an LLC, I'm a business entity, I'm a, okay, knock yourself out. Like literally, we're not trying to be funny or anything like this, but it's kind of like, we run the system in this way, okay? But if you would like to use some smoke and mirrors, we allow you to call it whatever you want. You just have to realize that certain things play in certain ways, but what you call it is up to you. We call that a corp-wide setting, okay? Yes?
Is this where I'd also go if I was setting up a corporation?
Okay, usually what happens is we will set up the corporation.
Oh, you said
but if,
okay.
say you were a rep and you were going to go help somebody, you say, hey Brandon, we need a new corporation set up for so-and-so and so-and-so. Here's their credit card information. I'll mail you the logo. That's kind of the scenario. And then basically, okay, cool, it's set up. And then for you, you're like, okay, I'm going to log in and I'm going to get them set up and tweaked because we may not know all that information. You're like, okay, they actually deal with patients and they don't have locations. They have clinics. So I'm going to change location to clinic. They don't have parts. They actually have supplies, items, whatever you want to call it, okay?
Right.
And so you would go tweak their little settings and set somebody up with permission, and all of a sudden when they first land into it, they're like, oh, wow, sweet, it's perfect for me.
Yeah, it's already set up.
Yeah,
okay.
So Adilas doesn't do that. We say, we'll create you a container, we'll create you a user, and the first little bridge type thing, and then basically from there, you're able to kind of tweak it.
We go down this page.
You go down this page.
What's the best word for you?
Correct, yeah. So what I'm going to do in order to teach you, like we can change any of these things. Salesperson, like often on the side here, it'll give you an idea. Do you have a guide, a rep, an instructor, a trainer, a professional, just ideas like, okay, these are the people who are going to be tied to your tickets and your stuff like this. What are you going to call your locations? Is it a store? Is it a job? Is it a, you have tons and tons of options. And the options that we provide, they're just samples. They're just samples. Like you literally can tweak this thing out. What I would like to do today is figure out what we're going to be doing in some ways, just so we can kind of generally name these pieces and parts. What I think would be really cool is if we added the value capital C dash capital W space, and then we named it whatever. So whenever you see C-W, you're like, corp-wide setting. And it's going to kind of stand out as a flag. That's not normally how you would name something, but just for training, so that any page you're like even in quick search menus, and you have to realize when you change one spot, let's just say location. If the location is based on everything, guess what? A quote has a location, an invoice has a location, a PO has a location, a department has a location, an expense rate has a location, a deposit could potentially have a location. You change one little thing right there, and guess how many places it cascades? Like literally, you change the whole interface. That's called dynamic. And so what I would propose is that we actually go through and we go, while I'm talking, just so I don't have to do this, Shannon, can I actually put you in charge? Can you start at the very tippy top and go just like this? So in front of each one, just turn on your caps lock, C-W space, and go down to each single one, and we're just going to leave them defaults right now. But if you can, anything that has it that looks like you're supposed to name it, and then we'll just kind of do it that way. She'll submit it because you guys are all admin users. I'll just have to hit refresh, and then it happens that way.
So I can do it on all of them?
Yeah, on all of that. While she's doing that, let's do a quick little, I just happened to mention something, and it kind of triggered this little thing in my mind. We ride on a browser, and we talked about this yesterday. what kind of things do you guys know about browsers that we should know? This is, say I'm a motorcycle rider, okay? Sure, you have a motorcycle and you're able to go all sorts of different places. What do you know about your motorcycle? How do you change gears? What does it do? How does it stop? How does it do this kind of stuff? What kind of things do we know about browsers?
Sometimes they don't work.
Okay, that's not the first thing I was thinking about, but great. So, Shani, while you're doing this, I would like everybody else to kind of help join me real quick for a second. And we're just going to kind of briefly, I'm not going to make you read it, but we're going to talk a little bit about browsers. What I want you to do is come up to the top of the page you're on, it doesn't even matter which page, and click on the help file. And I want you to go to the little link that says Adilas Steps to Success User Guide. I realize it's under construction, but this is called part of the never-ending work in progress, right? But as you start scrolling down, I want you to click on the thing that basically says Web Basics 1.5. Okay, we're not going to read this whole thing, okay? But whoa, what the heck? But what I would like to do is go down and we'll just deal with kind of those main highlighted things. Changing mouse pointers. Most people, as long as you browse the internet, you're like, oh yeah, I know exactly what that is. You can have all sorts of different things. An I-beam that blinks is for text, okay? An arrow means you're just over the top of things. A hand means you're over a hot link. Something that you can click, a button, a link, that type of thing. An hourglass, often that means it's waiting, it's thinking, okay? A number of different things. Let's scroll down. Right-clicking. Who can tell me something about right-clicking?
Gives you choices.
Lots
of options.
The cool thing about a right-click is it's specific to where you are. Often, how many of you guys know how to create a new window from a browser? So say you're working in something, and somebody calls you, you're like, oh, I know where that's at, but I don't want to leave this. I'm halfway through it.
Top right, there's a little box there. You just click on it and it pulls up another one.
Okay, that's called a tab. That's called a tab. Okay, watch this. And this, I'll have you guys try this. Scroll. Let's scroll up to the top for just a quick second. We'll jump back down to this. So say, for instance, one of them had Adilas.biz homepage. Right-click on that link. This is one of the most handy ways to open up a new window. We're going to do the third option down. Open in new window. Bloop. I now have 3. You might only have 2 windows open. But basically, whatever you right-click and you say, open this in a new window, it gives you a new starting spot. So technically you can leave that one right where it was at, and then you can jump into a new window. I use this all the time, like all the time. And you have to realize that all of your data in Atlas, it may not be perfectly right in front of you. Because it has all of these different little sub-home pages, and depending on which little cups we're sticking stuff in, the little Pringle cans or whatever, you have to realize where that data is. So if you're looking at something, you're like, oh, I need something and I know exactly where it's at, you leave this one and you technically jump away for just a second and you go grab it, and then you either close that or do whatever else you want, and you come back here. Or if you're Sherry, you have 2 monitors, multiple windows, and you're doing this. Okay, I'm going to set that one, I'm going to set that one. Now, like, she's multitasking. The thing that you need to realize is the reason that this is even possible is the web server. We're going to kind of play a little game. The web server, it's dumb. It does know who you are, but it's kind of dumb, okay? So we're going to set up an analogy like this. Web server over here. User. Hundreds, thousands, whatever we need to do, okay? That are all playing with a server. And there could even be multiple servers and they're playing with different ones. We're not going to go there. One server, multiple users. Now, in order for this thing to function, it can't fully keep track of you the whole time. Like, okay, what did you ask for last time? I'm out. Like, it can't keep holding hands. So what it does is you submit something. It does what it needs to. It responds, breaks the connection. Okay, it still knows who you are because it's able to track that, but it breaks that connection. it would be very hard for the servers to be physically connected to every single one. That's where people actually have IT problems. That's called networking. Like say for instance an Access database, you can max it out if you have too many simultaneous hits. It's because the server tries to maintain all these connections. It's literally like running out of arms and legs and like, oh man, don't pull me any further because I'm gonna break. And so what we do on a web server is we basically server, clients, transaction, break, multiple transactions. Here's Sherry, break. Like every single time it's like, okay, Sherry again, okay, Sherry, whatever. It does this, and in the meantime Shannon's responding, oh, that's Shannon, oh, that's, you know, it's able to do this, but we break those connections every single time. It's important that you know that. So you have what's called a session, and I know this might sound super technical, but this is kind of like how the system works. A session is your own little container of memory, okay? Imagine a super cool little Tupperware thing that you're able to stick certain things into, okay? We hold your settings, we hold some of your permissions, we hold some of your color schemes, we hold some of your default, like I want to start and use this type of thing. We're sticking them into these little containers for you, and then you're using this. As you log in and out, we create that new little container and we load it with the things that we need to. That's called your session. Your shopping cart, one of the little containers in your little bigger container is your shopping cart. So you can add, edit. That's why you're able to go anywhere else in the system and come right back to your shopping cart. It's held in your session, okay? The thing that some people get confused at is this session, it's set up with a time frame on it. So if the server doesn't have any interaction with you within 2 hours, it's like, I'm not going to hold your container anymore. You've exceeded your allowable time. I'll just sever that connection and you'll have to re-log back in and then I'll set you up a new one. And that helps the server maintain so it doesn't have to keep holding all of these open containers. Yes?
Okay, so like when you go into Amazon, I can put things in my cart and I can go back a week, a month later and it's still there, but this would not happen.
Okay, so basically what's happening there, they're either saving it via cookies or on a database according to your name. Your current cart, if you actually do a cart, they create a little session for you as well. What we do inside of Adilas is we have certain things that will let you to save, which we call your personal settings. You can save those. And then your Corp-Wide settings, you can save those so it knows how to pull in all your defaults. But each session is individual.
Okay.
And so if you have a certain cart and you wanted to save it, what we do inside of Adilas is we say, save, and it actually creates a quote, and then you're able to restore it. Okay?
Oh.
But what we do is it's a memory management thing, okay? If you literally had a little Tupperware with multiple containers in it, you basically say, this little container is for my cart. If I want to save this, I hit save. We then have to write it to something because this little temporary thing, it can only hold for a certain amount of time. If I'm doing actions, if it took me forever and a day to build a cart, it could actually be in that cart all day long as I'm still having some sort of interaction with the thing. Say I started the cart and all of a sudden somebody's like, hey, I really need you to do the sales tax report right now. You're like, oh, I'll get back to that cart. I've already added 4 line items. You can either save it and then it's recorded in the database, or you're like, you keep doing your sales tax report. But guess what? Every single connection starts that new 2-hour window. The place where people get confused is say they're typing a big old long note. They just got off this phone call. It's a hot lead. They're like, oh yeah, this deal's going to go down. This is awesome. I'm going to write some notes. And they're sitting here going, tick, 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 and they write. Well, in their mind, they're acting, okay? The server had already broken that connection. It gave them the new page to say, enter, okay? They're entering and they're like, wow, look how hard I'm working. If it takes over 2 hours for you to write this big old long thing and you never submit it back to the server, it might kick you off. You have to realize that you no longer have the active connection. Does that make sense as far as what happens?
So then you would probably save it as you go on, just to make
Oh, yeah, if you want it doesn't make a bit of difference. And what you would do there is say I added a bunch and you're like, man, I've been working for a half an hour. I want to make sure that this thing gets saved. You would submit it. It goes and it gets saved in the database. Cool, I've got exactly what you want. Now, in order to change that, it's no longer an add process.
It's an edit.
You're an edit. And all of a sudden, boop, here's what I currently have. Add. Oh, I better save this. I've been working for another half an hour.